Hello and welcome to this. This is game 4 of the Blackheart vs Zlo Pro Series. So this is a best of 7. We are up to game 4. The score is currently 3-0 in favour of Blackheart, and this time we're going to be seeing them go down on Canis 4v4 Special Edition. So let's go and have a look at how these guys are going to get on with their initial builds. In the north this time we have got Blackheart, and he has opted for Aeon this time, so we're probably going to see a little bit of Aurora spam for him. He is throwing down his first land factory, a little bit of adjacency there with the Hydro, and then we'll see the mixers go down and we'll see a Hydro with that first engineer out of the factory. Let's go and have a look at how Zlo is getting on, and Zlo has gone for Cybran this time, so we'll see Mantis spam from him, but unfortunately no hover until he gets to the T2 stage, so we'll see how that plays out. We can see a very similar build order there for these guys. We've got that first engineer coming out of the factory, immediately getting to work on that Hydro, and the ACU will be assisting that momentarily as soon as he's got those mixers down, and that will get the power online for these guys to start their expansions. And in terms of expansion, this is actually a 4v4 map, and there are 3 empty starting positions right here, and Zlo is going to be trying to capture those as soon as he can, as well as a literal ton of reclaim floating around the map. And then we can see expansions over to the side, another Hydro and a few more mixers. And we have exactly the same up in the top here for Blackheart, so we'll see some expansion plans shortly, and those guys are going to go and grab those extra Hydros, those extra mixers, and they're going to start scooping up this reclaim, and they're going to get their spam up and running. So we'll see a lot of land factories would be my prediction, and we are going to have a battle out on this Canis 4v4 Special Edition. Alright, let's go and check in with those initial expansions here. We've got Zlo, he's getting that second Hydro done, so desperate need of power there, and then he's going to grab a couple of those mixers and then go after some reclaim before expanding out to the left. This left hand area, well, that's going to be quite important for him to hold, because if he is not able to hold it, Blackheart can send forces right around the bottom and into the back of Zlo's base, and vice versa. Zlo can get forces up around the top here and across into the back of Blackheart's base, so they are going to want to expand. And how is that going for Blackheart? Well, Blackheart doesn't have any expansion orders issued yet. He does have a scout heading over there just to make sure no pesky little robots come flying in and disrupt his engineers, but he will not have anything to worry about, at least in the short term, because it will take a couple of minutes. This map is slightly larger than the last couple of maps we've seen, and that is going to take a few minutes for the forces to get across and start to cause problems. In terms of problems, we've got one hunter here out from Zlo, and he is starting to get in proximity of Blackheart's base, so it all comes down to whether Blackheart can spot that before he gets in, or whether he can take out an engineer or two before Blackheart can respond. We do have an air scout out now for Blackheart, and he is going to grab some intel. I don't think he picked up on that hunter, but he is going to fly over this base and see exactly how Zlo is getting on with his expansions. He'll know exactly how many air factories and land factories he is putting down, and that's going to give him the intel that he wants. And Zlo really does need to get that air factory starting to, well, there we go, he has got that scout out, and it is heading up there towards Blackheart's base now to give him the same kind of intel. We can see that Blackheart is now just hovering around. He is just going to try and get a bit of intel, and if he hovers over this expansion, that'll tell him when Zlo has got that expansion underway, and we'll probably see the same sort of thing up here from Zlo, and we'll see how these guys are getting on in the eco games, which this time around actually Zlo is ahead in eco, which is really fantastic to see. He's sitting on 27 mass per tick to the 23 of Blackheart, so managing to get ahead a little bit in that early game, and is that in no small part due to grabbing this reclaim. And do we have so much reclaim going on for Blackheart? No, it looks like he's not playing too much at the reclaim game. One engineer over there at the moment, and not a lot else, so that could be helping Zlo just stay that little tick ahead, and he's just sitting at 1 mass extractor above Blackheart at present. But there is a bomber out, and it looks like that might have actually slipped past the interceptor screen of Zlo, so that engineer, unfortunately for Zlo, is going to go down before he manages to grab that expansion. And it looks like a bit of an air win there for Blackheart, because he's now got 3 interceptors to Zlo's 1. So a little bit of a problem for Zlo. He's got another interceptor out. He's going to have to maybe focus a little bit more on air this game. We saw in that last game it was a little bit of an issue after he focused on the snipe and wasn't able to get enough interceptors in the air to defend them, and hopefully we won't be seeing a repeat of that. Unfortunately though, a double engineer kill there for Blackheart, so That scout definitely paying for itself and knowing when that expansion was being taken, and now that bomber is just swooped on in and taken out those engineers and blocked the build of that hydro. Now Zlo hasn't responded by finishing the hydro with that engineer there, so perhaps a little bit of a micro change there would be welcome, and that would help his power game a little bit. In terms of power, they're actually sitting dead equal at the moment on 520 power, but we can see a pretty decent advantage to Zlo in the mass income game. So it looks like Zlo might be playing a little bit more of the eco and build game this time than the cheese and snipe that we've tried to see a little bit so far, which unfortunately just hasn't worked out. So let's it's actually a nice little expansion there, a proxy-based build from Blackheart. He's getting down there, he's building a bunch of land factories around this mass extractor, because of course you get a income bonus. Well, it's a reduction in costs more precisely, and that means that the factories around that mix will actually cost slightly less mass to build their units, and you will be able to get that little bit of extra spam out a little bit faster. And a very interesting line of hunters, no, those are actually mantis, sorry, and they are spreading out across the map, and I'm not quite sure what the plan is here, because these guys can't do a whole lot across the body of water, because of course mantis don't float and they cannot jump in the water, in contrast to the auroras the Blackheart's going to be able to produce. So those auroras that we'll see coming up momentarily. In fact, does he have any online yet? Yes, they're all over this side of the map. Those guys have got a little bit more range than the mantis do. We can see that coming into play now. And of course they can zoom over water, so that means this entire area here for Zlo is not safe, whereas Blackheart can pretty well count on this area in front of his base not being trespassable by Zlo in the immediate future. So we've got quite a crowd of mantis. I'm not sure if that was a little bit of a misclick there from Zlo, but he has actually sent all his mantis up into the top corner where they won't be able to do a lot. So I think the plan there is just to grab as much map control, make sure that engineers don't slip through and grab this expansion here, and just to make a general nuisance of himself. And we can see the same sort of thing going on this side, a string of mantis heading out, and they are just trying to deny this whole area. We can see he's been quite effective so far in securing that, while he has one engineer of his own. It will not take a lot of firepower from Blackheart to deny that, but it does mean that Zlo is slightly ahead in the expansion game, and we can see he's still sitting on 47 to 39, so doing a fantastic job of staying ahead of Blackheart in eco this time, and hopefully for Mr. Zlo he can keep it that way. And we can see a little bit of forward base going down there, and he's actually trying to get down a PD to stop those auroras which are hovering over that water and being a nuisance. So of course a walled PD is fantastic against auroras, because auroras are very low to the ground. Let's just have a look at those guys. They are right down to the ground. Their main cannon is very low, and it cannot shoot over walls, because Forged Alliance is a physics based game. It means that you have to actually be able to shoot the turret, and if we just look at that, when you're right down low, there's not a lot of that turret sticking out, and they are a little bit hard to hit. So a walled PD going down there just to deny the areas. Of course Blackheart moves off and looks for a slightly softer target, and he's going to perhaps come in for that mix, maybe be able to take out a couple of these mantis which are roaming around, and well, there's a decent force of there coming through. So that looks like it might be Blackheart's plan. Just spam auroras and out spam the mantis and just hit them from all sides, because of course you can come across the causeways, or you can zoom across the water and make a nuisance of yourself. And we can see another group here. So it looks like Zlo, well, he's still ahead in the eco game, 57, 58 now to 43 for Blackheart, and a little bit behind on power unfortunately, and it does mean that there's, well, a few roving bands of auroras which are not actually being dealt with too effectively. There are T1 bombers on the case for Zlo, and that is going to be his big advantage, I suggest, in this game, because auroras are fairly low health because they have the advantage of the hover ability, so the health on them is a little bit lower, and a T1 bomber will one-shot kill them. So we can see if we can get some more bombs away. I'm not sure if that bomber is going to be too effective in the next few seconds, but if we get some bombs landing on those auroras, they are going to vaporize it really quickly, and that will give Zlo a chance. So he does need to get the bombers. Here we go, and bomber on the case, and there goes, well, one more aurora, and there's a few more bombers coming out. So it looks like Zlo, if he can stay ahead in the air game, he will be able to shut down those auroras with bombers, and he's got a pretty good band of interceptors, definitely enough to outclass what Blackheart has put together, so he will be able to keep using those bombers with impunity on this side of the map, at least for the time being, unless of course Blackheart steps up his game. The other advantage that he has against the Auroras is if he can get in close, the superior health on the Mantis does mean that the Mantis will chew through an equal number of Auroras extremely easily and be a serious problem for Blackheart if he doesn't micro and kite with those guys. So he's moving another band in. There is a fairly decent little stack of firepower here. There's a Wagner up for Zlo, so it looks like he is also going to play at the water game because he knows that he can just shoot that Wagner across, or Wagner, if we are getting our pronunciation correct. He can shoot across and make a nuisance of himself over on Blackheart's side of the map. So far we've got a nice set of little raids, probably slightly more effective for Zlo, I would have to say, because he's got a smaller, well, he's got smaller groups and a larger number of groups all fighting around, being a pain in Blackheart's expansion. And very cheeky here actually, there is a engineer here for Zlo, and he is grabbing, well, there's actually more than one, there's an entire factory, and he is grabbing all of those mixes. So currently Zlo holds more than 50% of the map, and that is, well, I was going to say reflected in the scoreboard, but Blackheart is just not that far behind, and we can see that's probably due to some mix upgrades here. So he is making sure that he doesn't fall behind in the eco game, and he is using the tech option rather than Zlo, who is probably going to sit on D1 mixes for most of the game. I'm not seeing any upgrades. Well, I tell a lie, he's actually gone for core mix upgrades, which is a little bit unlike Zlo. He might be adapting his playstyle just a little bit in order to be able to combat Blackheart on this. So hopefully he's going to be able to make a lot more use of the air power that he's got, shut down these expansions, these raids. Oh, well, I completely missed that, because what has Blackheart done? He has surrounded his factory and he has just gone for a Harbinger rush. So, Harbingers are the Tech 3 land unit for Aeon, and they are quite fast, and they are very good at making a nuisance of themselves. And I'm not sure that Zlo managed to spot that that was quite going on, because that is completely undefended. He's dropping some more engineers in. Not sure if those engineers, well, if the Harvey stays in the area, those engineers are not going to be able to do a lot of work, but that T3 rush is going to be very problematic. And are we seeing a corresponding upgrade there for Zlo? I'm not sure of what he's going to quite do. It's just underway. No, it's still building. Okay, so that's a little bit of a problem, and Zlo doing a fantastic game, but now Blackheart actually catching up. So fantastic early game in the eco and the expansion, but looks like Blackheart has just managed to figure out a way to undo that, and that Harbinger is going to proceed unimpeded. He's going to be able to wander right around the sides and into the back of the base of Zlo, and there's just not a lot Zlo has on hand right now. He's got a Wagner there, a couple of Mantis, well, there's a couple of T2 tanks, and not a lot else. He does have the advantage in the air still, but T1 bombers taking their time to chew through that shield on the Harbinger. Of course, the Harbinger has extra, well, health because it's got the shield, and then of course extra regen because both the shield regens as well as any health regen that the Harbinger happens to have. So it's led by those Auroras, and those guys are just going to start plinking away at those Mantis. A bit of micro there needed to charge those Mantis in for Zlo. Well, actually the Auroras are coming to him, but now that Harbinger coming into range, it is just about on full shield, so we can see just the effect of that regen, because those T1 bombers were able to do a little bit of damage and not able to take that shield down, and the shield just regen. There is enough on hand to shut down that single Harbinger. He's managed to do quite a bit of damage, but he will go down momentarily. And what on earth? Okay, bunch of harpies, so we were too busy watching that raid, and this game only lasted 12 minutes. That is unfortunately chalking up another win for Blackheart, and Blackheart manages to reign supreme at the 1v1 Pro Series. A very unfortunate turn of events, that Harvey rush for Blackheart, just unstoppable. And I think he said in the chat, yep, GG. So we'll throw out a GG, and that's the end of that.